Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! I would love the chance to write my own story about how I became a fan of Descendants and Zombies and I met all of you. I believe that my book, my story, would sell millions of copies. It would be downloaded in e-books, and I would go on to become one of the most celebrated names in the history of Descendants and Zombies because I met all of you. And I had the chance to share my story with each and every one of you that captivated millions of people and inspired people enough to hit my subscribe button. Because as a YouTube creator, it is very difficult to find and to fall into and be accepted by a niche. And somehow I've been able to do that. And I've been able to touch the hearts of thousands of people. And this has been an experience and a chance that I know that I will never ever forget. Because I remember being a fan of book series like Goosebumps and how many kids would love the opportunity to have a brand new Goosebumps book as part of their collection. There may have only been 62 books in the series, but it was one of the most celebrated book series of all time for kids. I also remember the original Disney books that were released on their most successful characters like Mickey Mouse, Goofy, and Donald Duck, and I remember collecting them when I was a child. And I always wanted the opportunity to write my own story and to share it with thousands of people. Little did I know that it would come in the form of Descendants and Zombies. I always wanted to write a book on my experience of being a professional wrestling podcast host too. Although I never had the opportunity to, I would go on to record thousands of radio shows and YouTube videos on my passion for pro wrestling that I would go on to share with thousands of people who never really took me seriously until I fell into my passion of Disney and focused on that more than everything else happening in my lifetime. Pretty much I chose this opportunity of talking about your favorite niches and your favorite characters over every other opportunity that I ever had presented to me in my lifetime, and I've had the time of my life, and I've always wanted to be remembered and never forgotten. And I think that every star of the Descendants and Zombies franchises have felt the same way, and they've always wanted to be a part of something special, and so too have the fans. Because you guys have felt connected to these franchises, and I know a lot of your questions have remained unanswered for a very long time, and I felt so honored to have this opportunity to meet each and every one of you and hear your questions and try to help make sense of everything happening around you, because sometimes, more often than enough, that we can't make sense of everything happening for Descendants and Zombies, because all we want is to be a part of this reoccurring dream that we've never wanted to see end. And to be honest, guys, I've never wanted to wake up from this dream, because certainly if this is a dream, it's one that I hope that I never wake up from, because we never seem to have enough opportunities to have these conversations day after day. We never have enough opportunities to meet more fans of Descendants and Zombies, because even with how many fans of Descendants and Zombies I've met, I know I still have my work cut out for me. And I know that a lot of YouTube content creators don't perceive it that way. They never care about the comments. They never care about who subscribes, because they have thousands of people who subscribe, and what's one subscriber to them? But what makes this YouTube channel so differently is that I care about every subscriber. I care about everybody's opinion, and I value you sharing your opinion with me, the host of this show, because once you have that greater appreciation for your audience, and you understand and can appreciate your audience and find time in doing so, you always take away a greater appreciation for every video that you ever had the honor of uploading. And I've had the honor of getting to know thousands of people for their favorite characters, their favorite moments, and what makes them fans of Descendants and Zombies. Many of you feel very passionate about wearing, your gowns to these performances of Freya Sky and Kylie Cantrell and the Worlds Collide Tour, and you were so honored to attend these performances, just as you were to attend the Stars Align Tour. Now, I know there have only been a couple of shows. I think the next performance for Freya is actually tonight, and I want to send a special shout out to Freya Sky, who is preparing for her special performance tonight. This is going to be huge. I think this is the first performance in the Los Angeles lineup of the tour, and this is huge for her. Even though it's in a smaller theater, and it's nowhere near 19,000 people that are attending this, over 3,000 people tonight will jam-pack into a theater for Freya Sky, and I just want to say that I hope the best for her, and I'm hoping for great reviews of her Los Angeles performances, because this is exactly what she's deserved to have happen for her for a very long time. I've often said how there are big names in this industry who always take away from people who deserve the spotlight more and deserve more of an opportunity. We always hear about the Taylor Swifts and the Sabrina Carpenters and the Ariana Grandes of the world because of a major performance that she may have given in Wicked, or how Sabrina Carpenter just was on the Muppet Show revival. which I must say I was a huge fan of. I was a huge fan of the original Muppet Show back in the late 1980s, early 1990s, because I couldn't go a Sunday night without watching the latest episode of the Muppet Show. My favorite Muppet was always Fozzie, because he was a stand-up comedian who would stand in front of the microphone and say, "Hey, Kermit!" You know, it was kind of really cool. And I always wanted to work alongside the Muppets. So I was really jealous of celebrities of the past, and I'm even more jealous of Sabrina Carpenter now because she got to be a part of the Muppet Show revival. There was always just something about the Muppets. And I will tell you guys a little secret. My sister, who you guys never see on this show, has always suffered from something called Muppet phobia. And I was like, what? The day that she told me she suffered from Muppet phobia, I could never make sense of it. Apparently she suffers from this fear of the Muppets and stuffed characters. I don't know what that is. I gotta look into that. Because I don't know how anyone could go their whole life and never be a fan of the Muppets. I was always a fan of Jim Henson and how he could bring these characters to life. And I do believe that he was the original voice of Miss Piggy. While my sister suffered from a fear of the Muppets, I was always a guy who found time in appreciating Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy and their relationship and how much Miss Piggy loved Kermit and how Fozzie just wanted to be friends with everybody and how Animal was so crazy. You know, he would always come through the wall and there would be this gigantic hole in the wall because he would just go nuts over something that he saw. And then, of course, other characters were inspired from them like Fraggle Rock, and there was reportedly supposed to be a Fraggle Rock remake of that franchise, and it never did come into fruition. And then Alf happened in the late 1980s, early 1990s. And, you know, I had the honor of growing up in a generation, as I've said many times, that was very different from your guys' generation. It wasn't prided on live-action shows like Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. You pretty much had original animation to fall back on. And every single time that you had original animation to fall back on, you always wanted to take yourself up in the opportunity to watch these new short cartoons that would feature Mickey Mouse, that would feature Donald Duck, that would have Goofy have something crazy to do in it and contribute. There was always something to appreciate because you remember being a fan of the original movies like Hercules and Aladdin and The Little Mermaid and these TV series that were very successful, although they were very short-lived. And I think that Disney reverted back to original animation and could incorporate that into Descendants and Zombies. I think more people will be given a chance to fall in love with it. And I think that, you know, Disney has really never released enough merchandise for the most successful franchises in recent years. You know, years ago, you could get these sticker books with hundreds of stickers included in them, and you could also collect additional stickers. I remember getting my first ever Disney sticker book. It was for the 101 Dalmatians back in the 1990s. And what you would have to do is you would have to go out and get these individual smaller packages of stickers to stick on sticker numbers that were found within the book. So it would probably take you about 6 months to find all 500 stickers that would have to make up this book of 101 Dalmatians or Beauty and the Beast and the Little Mermaid. And you would have so much fun over the course of 6 months collecting up to 500 stickers. And I really wish that Disney would have more opportunities with more coloring books and more sticker books inspired by Descendants of Zombies, because there's always an opportunity to create something special. And if you didn't create something special with merchandise, there's always an opportunity to create something special for TV, like animated TV series or live action series inspired off the success of Descendants of Zombies, like Orna. You could focus on the underappreciated characters in Descendants and have a live action TV series with a new episode every week. That's what's so cool for being a fan of Descendants of Zombies. There's so much of an opportunity to create something special and to be a part of something special. Like, I would have loved the opportunity to have been a voice of one of these characters in the Descendants franchise. Think about how innovative I would have been as a character for Descendants of Zombies with how I can change my voice, because I've studied how to bring character voices to life and have a greater appreciation for it. And I've always taken away a greater appreciation for theater. I would have loved the opportunity to have been a character in Descendants of Zombies and to have represented one that meant so much to each and every one of your hearts, because I think back on how much Cameron Boyce meant to each and every one of your hearts, and undeniably, ever before his passing, he held a very special place in your heart and became one of the most revered Descendants characters of all time. I would have loved to have been just as revered of a character as Cameron Boyce or Boo Boo Stewart as part of the original trilogy, because I would have offered so much to it, because I know how much these characters mean to each and every one of you and how undeniably they've gone on to hold a very special place in your heart. Kind of like how Ruby Rose Turner's character Bridget, even though her time with the franchise was very short-lived, held a very special place in my heart. I had the biggest crush in the world on Ruby Rose Turner, I can't lie, and it had everything to do with how genuinely sweet the girl was. And there was never enough of an opportunity for us to get to meet Ruby and get to know more about her. I know there are diehard fans of Ruby out there. I'm not alone on this, because I have these conversations with so many wonderful fans of Ruby. It's just there's something about how genuinely sweet the girl was that I could never get enough of, and how she could sing these beautiful songs. Ruby had this way of singing such beautiful songs. I know there's always been the argument of how Miley Cyrus could sing anything back in the day, and she really could. But you could give Ruby Rose Turner any song in the world, and she could just sing the most beautiful songs and put the most beautiful lyrics to them. Kind of like how everything Freya Sky sings now makes perfect sense. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that never give Meg Donnelly enough credit, too, for how much she meant to the Zombies franchise, how she inspired me to live here in this haunted house. And I've been living here for forever. Many of you can probably hear the wind blowing in the background. But that's one of the most beautiful things that adds feeling to this video and really brings these videos to life, is that you can create these videos based off of personal experiences that tie in to Descendants of Zombies, and how you can share with the world how you felt about Ruby, or how you may have felt about Meg Donnelly, someone who was just introduced to us because of Zombies, because ever before Zombies, nobody knew who Meg Donnelly was. And then after Zombies happened, she got more opportunities on American Housewives. She was on The Masked Singer, although her time on there was very short-lived. She was the Coral. And then Kylie Control gets this opportunity for season 14, and she made the most of that. I would have loved the opportunity to have danced beside the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because I was always a huge fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Cowabunga dudes. I would have loved the opportunity to have jumped down a manhole and had pizza with 4 turtles and got to associate with them and became the best of friends. Because the thing is, when you have the opportunity to take on the Foot Clan head on, I mean, how many opportunities do you get to take on the Foot Clan? So I would have loved the opportunity to have been involved with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, either animated or live action, because I go all the way back to the early 1990s when the first ever live action Turtles were first created, and then Nickelodeon tried to make a spin-off of that. It was very successful, but I know a lot of people went to those movies and they were saying, you know, what did we come to watch? SpongeBob SquarePants shorts or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? So I think there is so much of an opportunity for these Descendant stars to promote their franchise and to have extensions offered of it, because I think that it's just one way of looking at it if you have a series that only lasts 2 seasons, because I know the Zombies reanimated series only lasted 2 seasons. So you think about Zed and Addison's characters having voices linked to that script, and how much the reanimated series of Zombies, which they filmed during the pandemic back in 2020, from 2020 to 2022, how much success was seen there. Think about what would happen if Malachi Burton and Freya Sky had the chance to offer their voices to an animated version of Zombies and told the story from their perspective, because I think everybody has a story. This is the thing that I appreciate about life. Everybody watching this video out there today in this really big universe, even with how big this universe seems to be, each and every single one of you have a story. It's all about how you want your story to be perceived and how you want your story to be told. And each time that you tell your story, the thing is you've got to know how to tell it differently, because everybody's going to feel differently about the story that you tell. So every single time that I've ever stepped out onto the stage or I've had a hand in production value, I've always encouraged people to tell the story differently each time that you step out onto the stage. Now that may involve, if you have 50 performances, every night for the 50 performances you tell it differently and you express yourself differently, and each time you do the performance you make the performance better, because it's all about how the audience receives you. They're either going to love you or they're going to boo you out of the building. Either way, you have to learn how to take criticism. I say this because I've seen and heard my fair share of criticism over the years, but even with how much criticism I have received, I've also received an incredible amount of love and support, because many of you have been with me from the very beginning, and I can never seem to put into words just how appreciative I am of every single person who has ever been with me from the very beginning. You guys will forever and always hold a very special place in my heart, because I've shared stories with you about how I was a fan of Descendants of Zombies, how I believed in a future more than anybody on YouTube, and if there's one thing that I have often encouraged is that indeed there is a future forthcoming for Descendants of Zombies. Every single day I record up to 1 hour of content within 3 videos, and I have the time of my life recording up to 3 videos, 1 hour of content every day to encourage people that there is a hope and a dream to hold on to and keep on believing in for Descendants of Zombies, just as there was many years ago from whatever you may have been passionate about. Many of you are passionate about probably about singing or learning how to play the guitar. And I got to be honest with each and every one of you. You know, having the honor to attract thousands of Descendants of Zombies fans to be a part of something special and to feel more encouraged than ever before has become the greatest honor of my life. Now, like I said, that may have been involved in me moving into a haunted house and thinking this house was haunted for years. I can't say that I've ever taken anybody who's tried to tell me this house was haunted very seriously, but, how else is one supposed to record and share his thoughts with you about being a fan of Descendants of Zombies, or his passion that has everything to do with Clarke and Ruby Rose Turner? The thing is, I've always supported their dreams too, just as I've supported each and every one of yours. So if Kylie's ever had a dream, if Meg's ever had a dream, if Freya's ever had a dream, I think Freya's name is beautiful, by the way, but the thing is, if they've ever had dreams, the least we can do as YouTube content creators is support them in their dreams, because they still have a long way to go. I mean, what do you really know at 20 years old? When you think about Kylie Control's age demographic, what did I know at 20 years old? All I was concerned about was buying the latest version of Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy X was really huge when I was 20 years old. And you would spend hours playing Final Fantasy X. You would put up to over 100 hours of gameplay into Final Fantasy X. And then by the time all your characters like Tidus and Yuna and Konami were leveled up to level 10,000, you could probably beat the game. And trust me, getting your characters up to level 10,000 takes hours of gameplay. I also remember playing all these really cool Disney video games when I was 20 years old, and you're saying to yourself, hey, Jonathan Clarke, geez, you're really passionate about Descendants of Zombies, aren't you? I'm not just passionate about Descendants of Zombies. I've loved encouraging people to follow their dreams through the power of YouTube, because years ago, YouTube wasn't certainly as advanced as it is now. So years ago, it was very difficult to reach a global audience and to really state how you felt, because a lot of people really didn't take you seriously. Because years ago, you could only record YouTube videos that were up to 10 minutes. And what can you say in 10 minutes? What can I say in 10 minutes? I have to go at least 25 minutes sharing with you my thoughts on Descendants of Zombies. 10 minutes is not good enough for me, not far long enough. So I think that each time that we have these conversations, if we can talk up to 25 minutes on Descendants of Zombies, we should never be afraid to let the world know, let everybody know how we truly feel about our favorite songs or our favorite characters, because we've experienced a lot in 10 years. A lot's happened. We've cried together, we've laughed together, we've shared in some of the most emotional times in the history of Descendants of Zombies, from the passing of Cameron Boyce to when the new cast found out they were going to have the honor of donning these roles. And they certainly made the most of it. Even though they received their fair share of criticism because they were never the original trilogy cast, I get that, because many of you were fans of Mal and Evie, and you're just as welcome to subscribe here as the newer fans of Descendants of Zombies. But as I've often said, this is how it goes. As the times change, we too as fans have to change with the times, and we have to learn to accept that the characters and the cast have changed up, and they have changed their perspective, and they have a different way of perceiving the Descendants cast than the originals. While their story may have been far from having been told and completed, we have a new story, and we have a new journey to embark on that is going to last for many more years that are yet to come. And I am so excited to be a part of that with each and every one of you. So just never forget that. When you think about this new cast and their story seems to never make sense to any of you, the thing is, you got to realize that the times are changing, and we too have to change with the times while we continue to honor how much this original cast meant to each and every one of our hearts. And I get that. I know how many of you feel that Mal was your favorite character and you can't beat Mal, or how Evie may have been the most beautiful character that you ever saw in your life. But I think we can also offer a lot of encouragement to this new cast and believe in their story just as much, because as I said many times, everybody has a story, and everybody deserves to tell their story and to have their story encouraged for many years to come. I have had the time of my life sharing with you my story about how I was a fan of Disney and how I showcased my passion through every video that I would go on to create and upload, and my story about how I became a fan of Descendants of Zombies, which happened for me from out of nowhere. It just happened one night on Halloween when girls used to show up my door dressed up as their favorite characters, and I supported them. And I believed in every dream they ever had, and I would look forward to many Halloweens to forthcome after that night, to meet people who were fans of Descendants of Zombies and to have the opportunity for them to share their stories with me, because you can never seem to have enough opportunities to let the world know how you truly feel about something, because everybody is passionate about whatever they're passionate about, and I've always believed they should be encouraged to continue to follow their dreams. If you are somebody who is new to a Jonathan Clarke video, and you may be watching a Jonathan Clarke video for the first time ever in your life, it is my honor to meet you. And I've had the honor of sharing this same story with people that I've told differently every single time that I may have ever pushed record, because I want to encourage the futures of your favorite stars, and I want to secure their futures to make sure they have legacies for having been remembered as some of the greatest of all time. And I've had the time of my life meeting thousands of people, but given how many people I've met on this really windy day, which is really spooky outside, but I have each and every one of you to share my story with Descendants of Zombies today, which I'm eternally grateful for, because living your life in preparation of a zombie apocalypse happening, you can never be too prepared, or you can never seem to expect the worst. first. But the thing is, guys, thank you so much for having made this your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel of all time. If you are somebody who has yet to subscribe here to this YouTube channel, I would just like to encourage you to hit that subscribe button. Let me know who you are by hitting the like button, and come along on this incredible journey with me, because I've had the time of my life sharing with you my story where I've captivated thousands of people, and I would like to believe if I've done anything, I've inspired people to become fans of Descendants of Zombies themselves and discover the power behind this life-changing franchise that has made us all better people and the best of friends. And that's certainly one of the most beautiful things to take into consideration every single time that we have these conversations about Descendants of Zombies, is that it's truly a beautiful franchise that somebody has taken something special away from, no matter who they are. Out there, you've had a favorite character, a favorite song, but really has come a long way in defining you for being the fans of Descendants of Zombies that you are. Having said that, thank you so much for having made me your favorite YouTuber and your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel of all time. That goes without saying. Thank you so much from my heart to yours for watching this video from wherever you hear my voice, or maybe watching this video today. We have a lot more conversation to get to, and we will resume this conversation just after sunset tonight, so I invite you to join me for my final video today, because we have a lot to get to in that video. We will discuss predictions and the futures of Descendants of Zombies, which I know many of you are really excited about and deserve to be encouraged about, because there is a future, and it's a huge one. It's a good one forthcoming for Descendants of Zombies, and we will get to all that later on tonight, and I invite you back to join me for that commentary. Until then, thank you so much for having a special place in your heart forever and always for Descendants of Zombies, and thank you so much for having watched this video. As always and forever, it has been my honor.